.com.
The night is young. The sky is...
All right, your gift will follow. It's Martini in the morning.com, 9:20 in the West. And Steve Tyrell's. Is this the first time you've been in the... We call this the
new studio.
The broadcast hovel. That's what we call this one. This is called downsizing for the economy, you know. But yeah,
like
gets the job done.
Cozy, baby.
Yeah, very cozy. So how you been?
I'm good, man.
Mother
People were talking to me at the same time.
Mother Miriam does that. She'll sit there sometime on Facebook. It's got to be. I mean, it's like people want. It's the craziest thing. I mean, in the old days, you know, you'd take some pictures and you'd put them up and, you know, whatever. But now people say, no, I want it now. You know, and with Facebook and Twitter, you know, we can. Hey, do you Twitter?
We have a Twitter, yes.
You want Twitter?
I want Twitter right now. Yeah, Twitter. Tweet while you're at it.
So, you're back in town. You got a new album. You got all kind. What's going on?
Well, just, you know, excited about the album. I mean, it's taken us a while to do it. It's had its genesis really in the sense of so many people have used my music at their weddings, you know. And last year when I was playing at the Carlyle, I got a call one night to come down early. And I said, why? And the maitre d' said, you'll see when you get down here. So I came down and there was President Clinton and Chelsea and Secretary of State Mrs. Clinton, and they had come to see me. When I walked in the back door, President Clinton said, man, I've been playing your Christmas album all day long.
Really?
I got the family all jacked up.
That's very cool.
And then he went on to tell me that he danced with Chelsea to my version of The Way You Look Tonight.
I love it.
Wanted to bring her out, and so, of course, I sang the song that night and dedicated it, sang it right to them. They were right in front of me, and Chelsea got up and went and sat next to her dad while I sang it, and he shedded a tear.
That's cool.
Yeah, definitely one of the highlights of that song and me forever. And it gave us the idea. The next day I called Concord, where I just signed it, you know, when we were trying to figure out what kind of album to make to be the first album. And I told them, I said, yeah, you know, President Clinton dropped by last night. You know, and he told me that he danced with Chelsea to me singing The Way You Look Tonight, and thought maybe it'd be a good idea if we made an album and dedicated it to the wedding market. And that's what I'll Take Romance is.
That's great. Well, you know, and there are some familiar songs, and some songs I think that some new things that a lot of people are going to enjoy. In fact, we were playing, and I hope I got this right. One of the songs on in fact, you got two songs on your album on this one that Etta James did.
Right. And I'm so happy about that because she was one of the first people to reach out and when a new standard came out to tell me how much she liked it.
Oh, cool.
But I was thrilled because Etta James has definitely been an influence on my life, as has Ray Charles and a lot of the great R&B singers. When I started singing in my first bands, I took my notes from, you know, Ray and Etta and Sam Cooke and, you know, Otis, Try a Little Tenderness. They were all singing the standards. And that's where I got my thing. So I was always like a major fan. And we even talked about doing a duet together.
Oh, wow.
Then she got sick.
Yeah.
And you know, I recorded several of Etta James songs. I now wish I'd have put Sunday Kind of Love on here. I recorded that too.
Wow.
But I put two of her songs on, and I was a little hesitant to open the album with At Last. But now I'm so glad I did. That was John Burke's idea to do that.
That is a big song, and Steve Tyrell sings it on MartiniInTheMorning.com. The album is called I'll Take Romance, officially out next Tuesday. You can pre-order it. The link's on the front page of our website, MartiniInTheMorning.com. We swapped microphones. I don't know where I am now. MartiniInTheMorning.com. Steve Tyrell from the new album I'll Take Romance. You know, that is a big part of what you do. I mean, you know, guys take their wives or their significant others to see you, and it's definitely about romance.
It is. Well, I mean, you know, these are romantic songs, and I've always sung them, and it started off with The Way You Look Tonight. I don't know how you could have a more romantic song than that. And I don't know, I just love singing these songs, and they're endless, the amounts of them. This album is a little more rhythm and blues based, and it has a couple of pop songs. I mean, I say pop. One of them was written in 1971 or something, Barry and Cynthia's song, but it's relatively obscure.
You talking about You Turn Me Around?
Yeah.
That song, but see, it's still you. I mean, it may be a song written, you know, in the pop era, but it's still
well,
you.
in the 70s, we act like that was yesterday.
Right.
You know, it was 40 years
ago.
ago. It was written.
That's such a great song, and there's another song on the album. Some people are asking about your background, and for anybody who hasn't been around when you've been here in the studio with us, or who hasn't been to one of your shows, your background. I mean, you're like a modern day miracle in a way, because I mean, you had a whole nother career in the music business, but before you started, you didn't start singing until you were at least in your 20s.
Oh no, I started singing early.
Well, I mean,
I made records, man, that were hits too in Texas when I was in high school. But then I just didn't. I gave that up and got more involved in producing other people's music.
Right.
And B.J. Thomas was a big influence on me doing that, because he was a buddy of mine in Houston, and we were on the same local labels and had our little bands that we competed with one another, and I always thought BJ was the best singer around, you know. And so when I got to New York, I got a job producing records. I told BJ, I said, man, when I get a chance, I'm going to get you on the label. And I did, and the first song we did was I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. And so we were off and running, and BJ became the artist, and I became the back guy in the background, and we had a great run, man. We went all the way to the Academy Awards, and then that kind of, because of B.J. Thomas and Burt Bacharach and Scepter Records and Hal David and Dionne Warwick, I got work. I got credits in the film business. Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head won the Academy Award, and Alfie got nominated, and The Look of Love got nominated, and all those songs I worked on. And so when I moved to California, Barry Mann and I started a company to produce music to work on movies. And then ultimately, people would hear my stuff. We'd make demos, and people for the movies we were working on or TV shows, and people would hear the demos and they'd go, "Who's that guy singing?" And I'd say, "That's me," you know. And then well, let's use that. And that's how I became an artist again. I sang "The Way You Look Tonight" was the first standard I ever sang in my life. But I had sung in many movies before that.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Mystic
Pizza.
I've known you 10 years, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so I
Mystic
started
Pizza?
as an art. Yeah, I sang several songs in that. I sang a movie in the main title in The Client, which was a John Grisham movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Sang in the opening of that. I mean, I had sung in other movies, but never highlighted like I was in the Father of the Bride movies, and people responded, and ultimately Atlantic, Ahmet Ertegun gave me and Val Azzoli gave me a record deal, and everybody thinks I sang in Father of the Bride and immediately became an artist. It was like 7 years after Father of the Bride. By the time I made an album, I had no desire to make it. I thought nobody would ever buy it. You know, Steve Martin kept saying, I'd buy it, man. And he did, too. He bought the first 50 copies.
I love it. It's MartiniandMorning.com. Steve Tyrell, you were talking about your partner in the studio on Sunset, Barry Mann. And the Barry Mann Cynthia Weil song on the album is absolutely...
They have two of them.
That's right. Well, this is You Turn Me Around. Steve Tyrell from I'll Take Romance on Martini in the Morning.
When I feel
Martiniinthemorning.com. It's Brad Martini Chambers. So the album is called I'll Take Romance. It's out next Tuesday officially, but you can pre-order it now.
Yes, as a matter of fact, please do. No, it was. I got a thing yesterday that it was a #2 best-selling album in jazz on Amazon.com.
I saw that. And it's not even out yet.
It's not even out yet.
That's a good sign.
Man, that's a real good
Well,
sign.
I know that our listeners have been, because I see the click-through when they click on it from our website. And let me just, because we get a little...
Please order it.
We get a few...
I'm against Paul McCartney on the same day. That's more than I can handle.
But you know what? That's the one thing that I keep thinking.
Same label, same... God, that's a new one on me. You know, my album gets released the same day.
But it's the one thing that for us as a radio station that plays this kind of music, it is drawing a lot of attention to this genre right now. I mean, you know, Tony Bennett's album obviously just came out a couple of months ago, and now with you and Paul McCartney, and there's some great things. There's some movies coming. There's just a lot of good things happening. But you sort of started all this. I mean,
I did. Yeah.
We call you
this round of it.
The poster child for
of course. Tony is the godfather of all this stuff, and he's been doing it successfully for so many years. I love Tony Bennett. I love the fact that he keeps changing and doing, and I loved his Duke Ellington album. I love, Hot and Cool. I mean, his Billie Holiday album, his Duets albums, his Louis Armstrong album. He moves it around a little bit.
Yeah.
He's really an inspiration to me, Tony Bennett. Did I tell you a story about him?
What's that?
Well, he's come to see me a couple of times, Tony has. And a lot of great people have, I must say. But Tony is a highlight. He came to see me in London when he had his first Duets album out. And I was playing at Ronnie Scott's. And I didn't know he was in town or anything, And I was getting ready to go on. The maitre d' said, "Hey, Tony Bennett's here, man." I said, "Oh, great." So I went down, said hello to him, and I went out, and the band and I were just smoking, man. There was Tony right in front of us, and we wanted to sound good, And about halfway through, he looked like he just totally lost interest in everything we were doing. I mean, he started writing something, and he didn't applaud anymore, and
wow.
And I'm getting totally paranoid. Then I'm starting to think, man, maybe this guy is maybe somebody asked Tony to review me, like the London Times or something, because he was writing something. By the time the set was over and he had stopped applauding halfway through and only was writing, I wanted to kill Tony Bennett. I thought, man, I'd never go to one of his shows and do that. And when I came off the stage, he said, "Steve, come here. I got something for you." And he had drawn me. That's what he was doing. And he sketched me, and it was so cool. Of course, I have it framed in my house. And
wow.
He took the mic cord, and it made an S, and it says, "Thank you, Stevie Benedetto." And it looks just like me. And he showed me what he was doing. He was so intent, it looked like he wasn't paying attention. Yeah. But he had sketched about 20 of them before he got the one that he liked.
He was just taking inspiration from your performance.
Isn't that cool, man?
I love that. I've never seen that. And
it's in my house, right when you walk in the front door.
I'll tell you something.
I started to put it outside.
Put it on display. Yeah. One thing that one of the first times I ever went over, when you were at the studio on Sunset, one of the first times I went in there, something that you had framed caught my eye, and it's a story a little off the subject because we're here to talk about your album, but it was such a. It was one of those do moments, the Twilight do. Because I remember I walked into your studio. It was in the evening, and you were working on the "This Guy's in Love" album. That was back 2003, maybe.
Well, it came out in 2003, so it must have been 2002 or something.
I'd just come here. We'd just started the radio station, and I remember I walked into the studio and I saw a picture of you on the wall, right as I walked in, right by the stairs, and it was a picture of you. Something related to the movie An American Tale. There was a picture. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Well, I remember the movie.
There was a picture. I want to say it was a picture of you and the cartoon character, but there's something related.
No, well, there's no.
Anyways, it was a picture related to the movie, and I said, "What?" I said, "What's that all about?" or something like that, and you told me the story, and I only bring it up because. I was just thinking about that because you're playing at the McCallum Theater tonight. The first place we ever saw you was at the McCallum Theater.
Yeah, that's the first theater that ever booked me. I mean, I didn't make my first album until I was 55 years old. Can you imagine?
Really?
50-something years old. I don't remember. Yeah, it's like I don't know if anyone's ever done that, and I'm hoping this album debuts in top 5. Like every album I've had has been. This is the 9th one has made the top 5 on Billboard's charts, and I don't think anybody's ever started their career at that age making albums. I mean, I'm proud of that.
You should be proud. That's why I said you're a modern miracle.
I was hoping that they put me on one of those old folk shows, They go, the guy that changes his life, but they never do.
That was a life changer, though.
It was. You can, people retire and then they become farmers or something. Well, I started becoming an artist.
When you told me the story about the American Tale, it was an amazing story for me because you and I just started working together on the radio station, and
it's a great story. That's one of the best stories of all time.
Because it was like this weird thing. Because Karen and I, our first date, and of course my wife is the one who told me I should listen to your music when we were starting the radio
Yeah,
station.
I know you told me that.
Which led to you doing the whole Now That's Music and all that stuff.
Right.
But our first date, we took our kids, her 2 kids and my 2 kids, to a movie screening of the movie American Tail, and the song Somewhere Out There became sort of our song. And then fast forward, that was 1986,
I think.
Yeah, and so fast forward, 15 years longer than that. But all these years later, you and I we wind up working together, and I think people don't know some of the things that you have done over the course of your career.
Well, that's a good one. I mean, that song was written by my partners, Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil, with the composer of the movie, James Horner. And they got hired to just write the songs in An American Tail and move the story along, And Barry was in the other room tinkling around, and I heard Somewhere Out There. I said, man, what's that? He said, well, it's a song we wrote for the little mice to sing in the middle of the movie. I said, well, that's a hit, man. He said, oh, no, we don't have to write a hit. It's just it's just for the 2 little kids to sing. They're little mice up to they're looking the moon. And I said, well, that's a love song, too. Anyway, cut to, I called the film company. I wasn't hired on the movie at first, but only Barry and Cynthia. And I said, listen, that Barry and Cynthia wrote this song that I think's a smash. And they didn't get it because nobody had ever done a song over the end of an animation. See, now you think everyone did that.
Right,
No one had ever done that before, ever. The last song that was a hit from an animation before that was, Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, sung by the, let me make them a demo of how I was hearing it.
Right.
And so thank God they did, and they sent me a budget, and I made a demo of the way it was, and Linda Ronstadt heard it, and Peter Asher called me up and said she wanted me to work with her on it, and the rest is history. We made that record. It won the Song of the Year, Best Song from a Motion Picture, won 2 Grammys, both categories. And I think Linda and James got a Grammy. It was a huge hit. I walk down, go to the Laker games. It's on the sidewalk there. It makes me feel good.
From his previous career, Steve Tyrell producing Linda Ronstadt and James Ingram on MartiniInTheMorning.com.
With
Peter Asher. Let's see.
James Ingram.
Linda Ronstadt and James Ingram on MartiniInTheMorning.com.
Best singer in the world, man.
Which one?
James.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know how you could sing better than that. He is like the greatest. And so is Linda, of course. But James Ingram is unbelievable.
I wonder if he'd ever do an album of like standards or I mean, he could sure nail it. I don't know. I think he'd sound great doing it.
He could sing anything, man. But he should do a dedicate. I always wanted him to do a Marvin Gaye type album.
That's an interesting idea.
Oh, man, he could kill that stuff.
Yeah. That's kind of a big thing right now. You did an R&B album with Rod Stewart.
Yeah, I did.
And
Soul Book.
Yeah, and then Seal's done what now? 2?
2. He's just done his second one.
With David Foster, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, you worked back in the day also with the Nevilles.
Yeah, Aaron. I worked on Aaron's 2 biggest hits he ever had, both of them.
Really?
Tell it like it is.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
I was only 3 years old at the time.
That wasn't that long ago, was it?
It was in the 60s.
Was it really? Mm-hmm. God, time flies, doesn't it?
I'll never forget. I was going to basic training, and I was on the bus, and my check bounced.
Oops. From that working on that record?
Yeah. It didn't. Those were the days it was hard to get paid.
I know. Hey, those days are
that record was number 2 with a bullet in Billboard, and my check bounced.
Those days are still here for some of us. MartiniInTheMorning.com. Steve Tyrell, the new album out next Tuesday, but you can pre-order it now. There's a link right there on the front page of our website. Or if you get the email this morning, actually there are like 3 places on the email we sent out this morning where you can click and pre-order Steve Tyrell's album. Again, it's called I'll Take Romance. It's out next week. Speaking of Aaron Neville, you worked with him then later in his career with he and Linda Ronstadt.
Yeah, after we did Somewhere Out There, Linda, I had a great working relationship, and obviously it was very successful for both of us. It was a big hit for Barry and Cynthia and myself, and for Linda and James. And she went after that. She did a Mexican album or something, and then when that was over, she called Peter Asher called me or Linda told me. She said, I'm thinking of doing a whole album shit originally with Aaron Neville. Do you know who he is? And I said, yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah, my check bounced.
Not from him. It didn't bounce from him.
I know.
But I said, yeah, I know Aaron. I worked on Tell It Like It Is, and I'm from Houston. He's from New Orleans, and Alan Toussaint and Dr. John and all those guys are lifelong friends of mine. So she said, well, you think you could, would you help me with that one? You got it, if you have any ideas. And I played her Don't Know Much. And she had remembered that who had done it? Bette Midler had done a version of it. And she really liked that version. And Bill Medley had done a version of it. But she specifically remembered Bette Midler's version and said that she wanted to do it. So we went in the studio and we made that record, and it was a smash. It was on her album, Cry Like a Rainstorm. It was the hit from that album, and it won 5 or 6 Grammys.
Wow.
That year. It was really highlighted that album. Linda won a Grammy. Aaron won a Grammy. Everybody got a Grammy but yours truly.
Well, maybe this is your shot. Now that it's on your album. From I'll Take Romance, Steve Tyrell. Don't know much, but I know I love you. It's martiniinthemorning.com. martiniinthemorning.com. Steve Tyrell from I'll Take Romance CDs officially out next week, but you can pre-order it now, and it's and we've just gotten so many so much reaction. People, because you snuck us a few tracks early.
Oh yeah, you've been involved with this album ever since I've been making it.
and people every once in a while.
One of the first ones that you encouraged me on was the song of Cole Porter's.
All of You.
Yeah,
that is by far one of my favorite Cole Porter songs. But it's also, if you really listen to the words, that's one of the sexiest songs. I mean,
yeah,
I love the north of you, the south of you.
Yeah, all that stuff. I don't know about I want to take control of you.
That could be a little.
That could be a little bit
misinterpreted.
A little bit of a problem. But with the modern female outlook.
Well, we haven't had any complaints. In fact, that's probably that and At Last are probably the 2 songs that we get the most requests for.
What about Talk to Me, man?
Well, Talk to Me is in a world of its. I mean, it's like in a different strata because, but of the standards, if you will, the 2 that we get the most requests for are At Last and All of You. But Talk to Me is a whole, and I wanted to bring that up because it's different. Because it's an R&B song, and I think you told the story here. You and I talked about it one time about Little Willie John and the whole dying in prison and all this stuff.
Yeah, and he was the first one to sing Fever, you know that.
Yeah.
And he sold 1 million copies of it, too. It was a #1 song, and about that same time he recorded Talk to Me, which Joe Seneca wrote, an actor, not Little Willie John. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
But Little Willie John didn't write Fever either.
No.
And but he sang it and made it a hit. And I always love that song. And when I play that, I play Talk to Me every concert, and people love it. And I think it's a sleeper on the album. I think if it found the right place, it would be a hit. That and Barry and Cynthia's songs are the 2.
But those 2 songs, but Talk to Me is like, it's a whole different thing because people, it stands out. I mean, as a little bit different from everything else that you've done. Even when you sing standards, it's like. I've always thought, and I remember Frank Sinatra Jr. Talking to him one time when we were putting the radio station on air. He said one of the great things about having Steve Tyrell singing these songs, he said he's got that little R&B, this Texas R&B thing going on.
Yeah, that's what he calls me, a Texas blues singer.
Exactly.
I love it. I love Frankie's.
Steve Tyrell on Martini. It's funny because when we started working on the old radio station, he said, man, you got to play a lot of Steve Tyrell. He told me about going to see it before and all that. He's Tyrell,
a dear friend.
He's a very, very nice guy, and this is a fabulous song.
Talk to me. Pretty bad.
Martini in the morning. I don't know which microphone I'm on. martiniinthemorning.com. It's we're doing photos. Our friend
there you go.
Thank you so much.
Our friend Barbara Schiff just came by to see Steve. It's a family reunion time at martiniinthemorning.com.
You're #1.5 because you got a lot of #1s.
Oh,
Barbara just told Steve she's his #1. You do. I don't know. A lot of people. There are a lot of people on Facebook that post as your #1 fan. It's martiniinthemorning.com.
We have a picture of you in our office.
He's talking.
Thanks, Armin. Hey, it's martiniinthemorning.com. 10 o'clock in the West.
Wait a minute, Armin.
10 o'clock in the West, playing the greatest songs ever written. They're online around the clock and around the world. Hey, we got some questions coming from the Margie McNeil in Nova Scotia, Canada. Says Steve. By the way,
hey, how did the people talk to me? That's what I want to know.
Does anybody like talk? Of course.
That's one of my faves, man.
That's an amazing.
I'll play it tonight. I'm going, playing in Palm Springs tonight.
Happy
birthday,
Margie McNeil in Nova Scotia, Canada. Let's see. Adrian in New York City wants to know, Steve, if you come to New York City again, will you? Is there a chance you might do any other venues besides your regular rent, the Carlyle?
Well, yes, but this year it was the first year that I am coming back to the Carlyle in May.
Oh, really?
I'm coming
must
back
like you.
and I'm playing 2 weeks.
Real quickly. Also, is there anyone else that you'd like to do with whom you'd like to do a duet?
I love Judith Hill, who's singing with me on this album, and she's fantastic. And she's an artist that I met when I was producing Rod Stewart's Soul Book album, and she was getting ready to go on tour with Michael Jackson, and she's in his movie This Is It, and she was going to sing the duets with Michael on his big tour that he was about to go do when he passed away. And I just fell in love with her. She's 25 years old. She's a great singer, and so I chose her to sing with me on this album, and she sings great. Why don't you play that?
Judith Hill with Steve Tyrell on martiniinthemorning.com. Steve Tyrell, Judith Hill, I'll Take Romance, title track from the album. It's out on Tuesday, out officially Tuesday, but you can pre-order it today. In fact, we encourage you.
I have some, I'm going to try to get Judith to sing with me at Catalina. I'm going to call her today and see if she's in town. I hope she is. And then Landau is going to definitely come and sing with me.
We were just talking about that off the air. I remember, hey, Mother Miriam? Shush. We were... That's the only bad thing about us being in the studio. I got the old bat right across the room from me, and
see, I have no microphone, so I can't get back.
She has no microphone, so she's we're going to put a microphone over on her desk, but the only thing is, if we do that, we won't be able to play any music. Yay, Mother Miriam! When America's Got Talent, when it started last season, the first night that he was on, we're talking about Landau, Eugene Murphy, the 22nd.
Junior.
Anyway,
what a name, man.
He was on the show, and I started getting the very next day. I must have gotten 25 or 30 emails with YouTube links to his performance the night before on the show, and people are saying, "Here's this guy that worked at a car wash, and he's on America's Got Talent. He sounds like Frank Sinatra," and people were going crazy over it. And then I found out that you produced an album.
Well, they called me out of the blue, man. I'd never watched America's Got Talent. I don't watch any of those shows, honestly. I don't like the idea of 3 people sitting there judging somebody. It just bugs me. I'm obviously not the not the rule.
Yeah, you're the exception.
But anyway, I got a call from Sony the night after he won, and they said, "Man, we got this project we want you to do for us, and you'd be perfect to do it." And I said, "Well, what is it?" And they told me about Landau, and of course I never watched the show, so I didn't know who he was. And they sent me some clips of him winning and everything, and he looked. So I said, "Well, let me fly to New York and meet with him." And I got on the plane the next day, and I flew to New York, and we went to a giant football game together, and he walked out on the field, and 40,000 people went crazy.
I'll bet.
I mean, they knew him. The football team was coming over to get his autograph.
I love it.
and so was the referees and everything, and so it was like, oh man, this guy's got a following already. And So we agreed to do the album. We went back to the hotel. Cops were stopping him on the street, walking around Times Square. "Hey, man, I voted for you,"
Love it.
And we made this album. We came to Capitol and made it, and it's a good album, and it's done really very well. I think it's sold 140 or 50,000 so far.
Produced by Steve Tyrell, Landau, Eugene Murphy Jr. This is more of a kind of a Christmas song, but I wanted to play it because it's with Judith, right? Maybe It's Cold Outside?
No, it's yeah, it is. It's with Judith.
Which microphone am I? I can't get it straight. It's Martini. I could never do what I could. I remember sitting in the studio with you when you guys were working on one of the albums. Oh, it was This Guy's in Love album. It's really first time I'd ever been around the recording process, and I remember sitting there watching, all the stuff going on the. I can't even run a radio console, much less what goes on in the recording studio.
Judith Hill, my girl, man. I hope she can come and sing with us. We got to call her today and see if she can. We've never played together.
And is Landau in town?
And he's coming to town. He's got nominated for NAACP Image Award.
Oh, cool.
Next Friday night. And so he's coming in on Thursday, and, in either Thursday or Saturday, whichever day, I'm going to get him over and have him sing.
I'd love to get him in here and talk to him about his.
Yeah,
I'm
sure you can do that. I'm sure we can arrange that.
I mean, what a thing for a guy, who had he had any experience as a performer?
Not a lot, I don't think. I think he was singing karaoke and stuff,
Wow. I mean, that's
I don't know.
amazing.
He can tell you better than me.
But what an amazing story. I mean, what he's done. Hey, you worked with another reality performer, if you will. You worked with John Stevens, who was on American Idol a few years ago, and
that was with David Foster. I did that,
and you did a whole album, and it was an interesting album too because it was a kind of a mix of pop and he did a couple of standards, and he did. I think about you every Thursday because the girl that did the duet with him on "Let's Fall in Love."
Oh yes, right. She's an actress.
She's one of the stars. Well, she'd been in a couple of really big movies at that point. She was pretty young, but now she's one of the stars of the hit NBC series that Ronnie Howard and Brian Grazer do, Parenthood. She's
really
one of the stars.
She's a really talented girl.
Yeah.
Very talented.
Erica
girl.
Christensen.
Yeah,
I think of her name.
Right.
Hey, we were talking about the Landau Eugene Murphy album. I mean, and I love to go and look. I mean, listen to stuff that you've done. I mean, I love you singing. Don't get me wrong, but I love when I sat down and I listened to this album. I thought, man, I mean, these are like big. I mean, how many pieces?
The concept I had for doing it. And I told Sony, I said, let's go to Capitol and let's record it. I mean, because his whole thing was the Sinatra Rat Pack kind of thing. That's what he won on. He won singing "My Way," as the last song. So I said, let's take this guy who was washing cars and make it really his dream come true. Take him all the way to, because he won $1 million.
Right.
He won 2 nights in Las Vegas where Rod plays and Celine Dion and everybody, at Caesars, his own show.
Wow.
And he won a Sony contract. That's what he got for winning. And so I said, well, let's make it a real deal. Let's take him to Capitol, get Don Sebesky and some of the great arrangers and have a, 60, 70-piece orchestra, the same thing that Sinatra had in the same place that Sinatra recorded. And that's what we did.
Landau Eugene Murphy Jr. on martiniinthemorning.com. That's amazing. Which mic am I on? Doggone it. Who did that?
Don Sebesky.
That's amazing.
Legendary, man.
That's
He's a
amazing.
legendary arranger.
That's
New
great
York.
stuff. That's Landau Eugene Murphy, and we all kind of watched him go through the paces on America's Got Talent. They put out a few. Well, Susan Boyle got her start on Britain's Got Talent, and she's up for a Grammy this year. And
it's the same kind of thing in a way, in the sense that you don't expect the voice to come out of this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like he's going to bust into Rastaman Vibrations or something, because he's got dreadlocks and he looks like a Rastafarian in a suit. He looks like a Rastafarian in a suit. And then he starts singing "My Way" or "Under My Skin" or something.
Yeah.
And Susan Boyle had the same thing. She looks like a housewife or something. And
not that there's anything wrong with housewives.
No, but she doesn't look like her voice.
No, I know.
And
it was weird.
Landau has that going for him.
I mean, when people started sending me the videos from that, and I looked at it, and I didn't listen to it right away. So I'm looking at the picture, of this guy, and I'm thinking, okay. And then I listened to him. It's like, what?
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. So the new album, Steve Tyrell's album, we're talking about everybody else's music, but yours now. The album's called "I'll Take Romance," and the eagerly anticipated Steve Tyrell album, "I'll Take Romance." Oh, yeah, he's showing you on camera, so you know exactly which one to click on. It's funny. I just got a note from one of our listeners, Duke, in where's he? Is he in Tokyo now? He either writes this from Tokyo or from Lake Placid, Florida, and he said he just ordered the album. And
God bless you, my brother.
I'll tell you something. I think that it's been, how long has it been since you put out an album? It was back-to-back rack, wasn't it? Yes, back-to-back rack, 2008. But then I had one album in between. But it's you can only buy it at my gigs, and that's live at the Cafe Carlyle, which I think Concord's going to put out eventually and make it in general release. But I haven't had a studio album out since 2008. Wow. Yeah,
so I got to do something about that.
It's been too long. People are getting a little antsy, and we gave them a little taste by playing some of the stuff from the new album. I wanted to play one song from the live at the Cafe Carlyle. I just think it's probably the most, maybe one of the most amazing pieces of recording art.
It's probably your voice
ever done. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Cafe Carlyle is proud to present Steve Tyrell.
Yeah.
Steve Tyrell from his Live at the Cafe Carlyle CD, and very familiar voice in the front of it. Not quite sure who it is, but that definitely reaches new heights when it comes. Just kidding. It's martiniinthemorning.com. So we got to wait just a second. Steve's on the phone with Deana Martin. So
I'm on the phone with Deana Martin. How cool was that?
And you know what's really funny? I have to tell you funny. Hey, let me give you.
Hold on. Now he's going to talk to you. Hold on
a second. We're on the air, so we're going to do this. Might as well. I remember one time. And you might remember this. I was on the phone with you, and I knew that they were coming in, but they came in early, and I wasn't expecting. But Steve and I were on the phone on the old radio station here in L.A. You were somewhere, and I think you were back east somewhere, and so you called me up on the station, and we were just talking, and Michael Bublé walked in the studio, and Michael said, "You're talking to Steve Tyrell?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh my God!" He said, "My mom told me I have to do the way you look."
Yeah, he told me that. Yeah, he said or she wouldn't buy the album. Isn't that something?
It was funny.
Believe me, that was his first album.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very early in his career, but it's funny how stuff like that happens. Like the other day, hey, Deana, hang on a second. I'm going to put you on the air. Deana, can you hear me?
I sure can, yes.
Hey, Deana, you're on the air here with us with Steve Tyrell. I was just going to tell Steve a funny story that the other day we had. How did that come about? We were talking about. Oh, I know, John Prue, young jazz.
Yeah,
yes, wonderful guy. He was.
I missed him. He just played it vibrato.
He did.
I would have, because he came to see me at the Carlyle.
Blaine was there, and we were there, and
I wanted to see him play.
He's a very talented young guy, and he's doing a duet with Michael Feinstein on his next album. It's got a lot going on. So anyway, he was in the studio, and he's playing on the 29th at Vitello's. They're doing a Jimmy McHugh night, and
I gotta go to that.
Well, so here's what was funny.
29th. Am I in town on the 29th? I hope so.
Hey, Deana, tell Steve who you're.
You know what? I can't give you anything but love, baby, or I won't dance. Something like that night, because Jimmy McHugh's my godfather.
Right. We didn't
what
know that.
A small
world. So
God,
John's here in the studio. And we're talking about this thing on the 29th with Jimmy McHugh, and Deana's husband John calls Mother Miriam and said, "Hey, did you know that Deana's godfather is Jimmy McHugh?" And none of us knew that. So within like 2 hours, they had it all set up. Deana's coming out.
The McHugh family have been my dearest friends. I sang Sunny Side of the Street in Father of the Bride 2. And then on my first album, I sang I Can't Give You Anything But Love and Sunny Side of the Street and I'm in the Mood for Love.
Right.
And they've just been my buddies ever since. And they gave me one of my most... Is Deana not going to be on the phone anymore?
Yeah, she's still on the phone. I just gave it to Mother Miriam to hold it so I don't hang up on her.
Oh, well, I wanted her to hear this. But
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, we plug her back in, man.
No, she can hear you. She can hear you anyway. Go ahead.
Anyway, at one of my gigs, they gave me a night. I'll show you this when I see you, Deana. But they gave me a money clip. I have it with me right now, actually.
Really?
That was on Jimmy McHugh's nightstand when he passed away, and see it. Anybody? I carry it every day.
Well, you got money.
And look what it says. It's on the back. Read what it says on the back. it's a St. Christopher's metal money clip, and on the back it says,
"Wow, to Jimmy from Nat."
Yeah, from Nat King Cole.
That Nat.
Isn't that cool, man? And so when they gave it to me, I said, "What do you want me to do with it? Should I frame it?" Or when they said, "No, just use it, and whenever you get a chance, show it to people."
Deana, isn't that cool?
I love that. And actually, last night at the Hard Rock, I sang LOVE for Nat King Cole, and everybody flipped out. They just, it's all the great music, it's all the great singers, and what history, and how wonderful for.
Well, you got the history, I mean, when I talk to somebody like you, it's like everybody else writes about this stuff, Deana. You were a witness. You were there. You lived it.
Yeah,
and you didn't have to read about it in a book, And your old man was the coolest guy.
Wasn't he the coolest?
The coolest.
And he was sweetest and funniest too. So I'm triply blessed. And I'm Italian. I don't know if you know that or not, but 100% Italian. Oh, well, you know
I'm
what?
a paisan.
I'm so Italian. My birthstone is cement.
That's great. I have every one of your father's things. When they sold them on TV. The
right.
old show. I have in my.
Oh yeah.
I got all of them.
Yes.
I got all of them.
Oh, I'm gonna have to send you the new King of Cool one, because there's a few skits in there with me and my sisters and
I
Frank
gotta
Jr.
have that.
and it's cool. So we'll do that. All right.
Hey, Deana, we're looking
when
forward.
I talk to you, I go, I am not worthy. I feel like
all right.
Deana,
Nice talking to you. Big kiss to you and Brad and Miriam.
So looking forward to seeing you on February 29th. I think I'll be in town. They moved up my daughter's due date. They moved it up about a week, so I think we'll be. I don't think we'll be grandparenting that weekend, so I think we'll be in town. So we're looking forward to it. It's a Jimmy McHugh event coming up at Vitello's in Studio City, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, Deana Martin's going to be there to make a guest appearance. And Mr. Tyrell,
if I'm around, I'd love to. I'll sing one of those songs. I love the McHughes. You know that.
I know that. It's martiniinthemorning.com. Steve Tyrell in the studio, running a little long. When do you have to leave for Palm Springs?
Whenever John says.
Where's John?
I took a shower this morning, so I'm pretty much ready to go.
The people of Palm Springs will
I don't have
thank
to
you.
go home and
Jim and Lee Newman, all of them have been such good friends of martiniinthemorning.com, and we've had them on. In fact, Lee's going to be in on Valentine's Day to talk a little bit, because, man, I'm tell you what, Jimmy McHugh wrote some pretty romantic music. Steve Tyrell, I'm in the mood for love on martiniinthemorning.com. Steve Tyrell, Martini in the Morning. Which album was that?
Which one?
You're in the mood for love? I'm in the mood for
First
love?
one, a new standard. And it might be, we're thinking about making a wedding edition to this and have like another 10 or 15 songs, sort of like have a greatest hits package that goes with I'll Take Romance to sell to the wedding stores all over America.
That's a great idea.
And that I would put that on there for sure.
We tell people that when we get emails all the time. People will say, I want to pick some really good songs for our wedding, and we're working with some DJ service, and they don't know anything about this kind of music. Can you give me a list of songs that we should play? And I just give them the names of your albums. That's all we do. Seriously, that's what we do. Because I mean, it all starts with Father
the Way,
Bride.
Yeah,
The Way You Look Tonight. From the new album, and we talked about this a little bit earlier. I've always been a fan of Cole Porter's lyrics, but this song in particular is just what is it you say sometime? One of the songs you talk about. Some songs have a little secret sauce.
Yeah, right.
And this song.
It does, yeah.
These
it's a
lyrics,
sexy thing, man.
I don't think I've heard you do it live. Is this?
I'll be playing it. I'll be playing it live tonight, and I'll be playing it when I'm back here at Catalina's.
From that one, but you kicked butt on that song when you did it live.
Well, it'll be on an album. It's just there's so many things I want to do. Like in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to do, an album of Cole Porter songs, Johnny Mercer songs. That's a Johnny Mercer song. A Ray Charles album. All of that would fit in that.
Yeah.
Like I'd love to do an album of my favorite Ray Charles songs.
Didn't you write a song for Ray Charles?
Mm-hmm. I did twice, and one of them's called "Big Bad Love" that he sang with Diana Ross.
I remember seeing the Ray Charles in your office. You had
the Braille, man. It's in my living room.
Yeah.
How about that? Is that pretty cool?
Very cool.
To have your own song, and he left the Braille in the studio, and I framed it. You know,
that's amazing.
He was the man. He was the man. He's my favorite of all time.
Is he your biggest influence?
He's my favorite.
Your favorite?
I mean, if you go in my car right now and turn it on, you'll hear Ray Charles. I mean, I got everything he's ever recorded.
Really?
You know who else kills me, man, that I just got back into recently that maybe you should play more of if you're not? Van Morrison, man.
Oh, yeah. In fact, not only we play Moondance, obviously, which has become, it's weird how that, I mean, he did that in 75, 76, and it's become kind of a jazz standard. Everybody does it now.
Yeah.
And then I found a great recording, him doing That's Life, a live version of That's Life that we play occasionally.
He's just unbelievable singer.
Very soulful.
Unbelievable. I've got his greatest hits. He's got a song, Someone Like You. Do you know that song?
Let me play it for you?
No, did Rod ever do that song?
No.
Rod ought to do. Have I told you lately?
Yeah.
But I'm going to pitch this to Rod to sing. Man, maybe I should go in and get him, make a version of this. This would be a smash for Rod.
Why don't we do a show? We've talked about it before. Because look what happens when we start talking. I mean, we've played as much music by other people as we played of yours, and you're in here talking about your new album.
Yeah.
I like Van Morrison.
Van Morrison is the man. Just such a good singer. So is Rod Stewart.
Since you brought it up, Van Morrison on MartiniInTheMorning.com. MartiniInTheMorning.com from Rod's Great American Songbook Volume 3. I forget the names of all of them, but
that was
my favorite of all three of all four of them.
That was his first #1 album in 25 years,
and his first Grammy ever. I mean, that's what really shocks people.
His only Grammy.
Yeah, but you've gotten Grammys for other people. We were just talking about. I was at your house I was at Steve's house.
But I got one for that though. I accepted the Grammy for Rod. He wasn't there. He said, "Man, I'm not going." He had been nominated 14 times or something,
and never got one.
So I was there that night, and when he won, and I went up and got it for him and me.
I was there. I was at your house one night, and. I mean, there's so much. That's why I like doing this with you, because there's so much that I know your career relatively well, and there are things that every time I talk to you, I learn something different. But that night, I was over at your house, and you'd been gone, and you're checking voicemail, and there was a message from Andy Griffith that he wanted you to call him about something. And I said, "How do you know Andy Griffith?"
Well, I produced an album with him that was like, I think, one of the biggest gospel albums of all time.
And he got a Grammy.
And he got a Grammy. I accepted his too. He wasn't there that night either. So you're kind of like, I went up and he said, "The winner is Andy Griffith." And I walked up and the whole audience went, "You're not Andy Griffith."
You're kind of like those seat fillers they have at the award shows.
Yeah, well,
you're the designated award.
If I produce the album, I don't feel bad about walking up there and accepting it. Because most of the time you do more work than they do, on the album.
They come in and sing, and then you're the guy that's got to make it all sound good.
Yeah. Rod is not an over-worker.
Really?
No, he likes to play soccer, man, I mean, when he comes in to sing, he takes care of business. But he doesn't, he'll be the first to tell you, he likes playing live, and he's brilliant at it, too. And that's why he's been such a superstar. So if you ever get a chance to go see Rod Stewart, be my guest. Because he's fabulous, always.
We're going to get Steve on the road to Palm Springs. He's at the McCallum Theater tonight. If you're in the desert, go see him tonight. It's a wonderful hall, and it's going to be a great show. The album is "I'll Take Romance." It's funny when you're talking about working with Rod. We had. Thanks to our friend Don Graham, who just walked in, we had a buddy of yours, Regis Philbin, in the studio back a few years ago, and I remember
Regis being on the air, man.
Regis said,
"My career may be over now that he's gone." He used to always give me shout outs.
I think Regis is going to be back. I think we haven't seen the last of Regis on television. Regis said. We played one of the things with you saying, "Now that's music," and he started imitating you on the air, and it reminded me one day Steve was in New York, and I think you were playing at Feinstein's, and my wife called me and she said, "Regis Philbin's talking about Steve. You went and saw him last night," and then a little later that day you called me and you said Regis came into your dressing room and he was imitating you doing now that's music.
Yeah, he'd do that. He's one of my dear friends, man. I haven't seen him recently, but he came to every opening night. Would go on the air the next day and give me a plug and talk about it, and just a great friend and a really generous guy, and there's nobody like Regis.
Regis said when he was in the studio, we were talking about seven people. It was great because people were calling, because he worked here in L.A. at one time, worked in San Diego, and people who remembered him on local television were calling in. I mean, people that he knew, old neighbors of his, a guy he went to college with, and all this stuff. But anyway, Regis said, "Hey," he said, let's call Steve Tyrell. And I remember we called you on the air. We called Steve. He said. I think you just finished his album, and you were still working on. He said you were working on Rod's album before you did his album. You were working on Rod's album still, and he was giving you grief about it. But what a nice guy! And you did two albums for Regis.
Mm-hmm. I did a Christmas one too.
Yeah,
with he and Joy, who's also just a fantastic person. They have a wonderful marriage. They've been together forever, and they're just two of the best people on earth. Really.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun
and talented.
Yeah.
And I love Regis's take on Regis. Nobody does Regis better than Regis. What are you talking about? You're gonna make. What is Regis supposed to do? Like he talks about himself, like he's not there.
So you're off to New York.
When are you gonna let Regis out of here?
Well, I'll bet he'll be at the. Don't you think he'll be? I said New York. You're off to Indianapolis. I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up there because I know isn't he a pretty big football fan?
I've never seen baseball.
Oh, he's a college
baseball,
college football and baseball.
Baseball. He's at the Yankees all the time. I've never seen him at the Giants games.
But you'll be there.
I'll be there. Looking
Bowl?
forward to it. Yeah.
I was a little upset with my two favorite teams, the Dallas Cowboys and I grew up a 49ers fan, so I wasn't too happy with the Giants a couple
Well,
weeks
let me
ago.
tell you, my friend owns the New York Giants,
Right.
the Tisch family and the Mara family, and I'm always in New York during football season.
Sure.
And they always invite me. I went to the last Super Bowl when the Giants won. So I'm from Texas, so of course I'm a Cowboys fan, and they're in the same division.
Yeah.
But they've been a big disappointment, and I say if the Cowboys aren't in it, which they haven't been for the last 20 years, I pull for the Giants all the way, man.
Yeah, this is going to be a good game. I think the New England and you'll tell it.
I flew down during my run at the Carlyle. I flew down for the game in Dallas.
Did you really?
With Steve. When the Cowboys and the Giants played, and that turned the Giants season around.
Absolutely.
Had they lost that game, they wouldn't be here
Right.
Sunday. And they beat the Cowboys at the last minute, and that guy blocked the field goal, and that was it. They've gone on from there.
Yeah, it's been an amazing season for both the Giants and the Patriots.
I love Eli Manning, man, and I also think Tom Brady is just as good as you. There's no telling what kind of game that's going to be.
It's going to be
because you don't beat Tom Brady too often.
Right.
You know.
And the Giants have had kind of their ups and downs this year. Although they
but
do. But
Eli, who would you rather? You can't have anybody better than that in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he's amazing.
This guy's unbelievable.
I know.
And I'll tell you one quick story before I get out of here about Eli Manning. The year they won the Super Bowl, I was at the game when they played the Green Bay Packers, and he threw 5 interceptions, 4 or 5. And Peyton had come to see him and was sitting right next to us. And every time he threw an interception, they put the camera on Peyton. So after the 3rd interception, Peyton went out of the box, and we were in Steve Tisch's box, and he went and sat so they couldn't put the camera on it. The next day, they were running Peyton Manning out of town, the New York press. He is the worst, the biggest bum. You know how they do in New York. Yeah. He was so cool. He didn't even faze him, man. He got an interview. Well, I had a bad game. I'll be better next week. Meanwhile, they weren't even in it. Well, he went on from that minute on to win every game, except the last game of the season when they played New England, which they almost beat New England. It was the same thing as this year, where they almost beat. I was there this year when they almost beat the Packers, and New England was undefeated. Then he goes on the road, wins in Dallas, wins in Tampa Bay, wins in Green Bay, 40 below zero, and then goes to the Super Bowl, and I'm at the Super Bowl, and then they beat New England, in the Super Bowl.
It is kind of almost a carbon copy of that season. It'll be interesting to see if the Patriots get even.
Well, I'm saying it's hard to bet against Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You can ask what's his name from Denver.
Tebow. Tim Tebow. Yeah.
Ask him if he wants to play Tom Brady again. Because he got all the press that week, and Tom Brady just threw 5 touchdowns in the first half.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody was wondering.
Steve Tyrell on MartiniInTheMorning.com. The new album called I'll Take Romance, long awaited, over 3 years since the last studio album.
You can get this at DonGraham.com.
Our buddy Don.
Don Graham's in the house. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here.
Don is the original record promoter back when the grooves were on stone tablets. And
I think they were wire recordings.
Maybe that's Don Graham was one of the original record promoters.
He built A&M Records.
Yes,
you know
he
that.
did. Yeah,
you know that. I just saw Herb last week.
Herb Alpert just threw Don out of his garage. As a matter of fact,
he's going to be. Herb is going to play at the Carlyle. I talked him into it. Yeah,
I still haven't gotten to see him
at the
here.
end of the month.
Really,
he's going to play 2 weeks in February.
Oh, that'll be
at
great.
The end of February.
I'm glad he's playing again. I mean, he's
great,
a treasure.
Man. He's great.
Nice man. All right, it's MartiniInTheMorning.com. I love you for. Oh, in fact, I'm sorry. You just made me Herb Alpert. First time I ever interviewed him. Your version of. This Guy's in Love had just come out, and he said, "Yeah, hey, I hear you playing a song of mine now and then." And I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Yeah." He said, "But I don't think it's me." And it was funny. He was joking about because it was right before you played the first time up at his club up at Vibrato. Steve Tyrell on Martini in the Morning. I'll Take Romance, the name of the album. It's out. It'll be out in stores on Tuesday, but you could pre-order it now. Click on the link on the front page of our website, and. We love you for sentimental reasons. Thanks, Steve.
Take care, brother. Thanks for everything all these years.
And we'll see you, Caleb.
That's music.